Fantasy football is about choices. Will it be James's expertise?
He's going to be the only guy on the field to get the ball. He's a 3-down workhorse to get the ball.
Or Chris's insights?
But even if they trade him, I still don't think they're going to become a run-first team.
The choice is in your hands. We give you the option.
Pronto, everybody. Welcome back to The Option, a fantasy football podcast. I am your host today, Chris. With me is co-host James. James, we just did a redraft mock with some friends of ours that were included in it this time to kind of throw us through some loops. I know you drafted your normal strategy. I went zero running back. Some of the other guys threw us through some loops with some of their picks. But all in all, how do you feel with your team heading into week one?
All right. Well, welcome everybody to the show. I officially hate the number 12 spot.
My favorite spot, man.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I mean,
Is it the weighting that you don't like? Is it?
Well, the weighting was obvious. I hated it. I mean, to sit
that
here
you
and
get to
watch
see
all
all
you
your
guys
players
take a
get taken
bunch
off
of
the
people
board.
that I want sucks. But just the team overall. I mean, I drafted the way I would normally draft. Do I feel comfortable to say this is a contending team? Like, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, like if you want, I'll actually let me read out my team to the people that are listening. So I drafted. I had the 12th pick. So obviously I had back-to-back picks on the snake style that we had. So I went Austin Eckler, Stephon Diggs. I like both. I think both could be. Stephon Diggs should be a top 3 wide receiver, and I think Eckler has the upside to be in the top 10. Then I went Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs because I like to go and continue the running back stream. There are a lot of question marks on Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs, so I'm kind of scared there. They should still be the starters. How well will they do? Could they be their old selves? I'm not 100% sure on that still, so I'm kind of a little scared there. Then I got Brandon Ayuk. I like Ayuk. I think he's going to be a good wide receiver. I got Javonte Williams. Again, I think if he doesn't start the season as the lead back, I still think he'll take a lot of reps, and then by the end, he will be the starter, and I think he should have a good year. I got Mike Williams, who we think is going to be every year that he's going to be a guy. I've been hearing a lot of good things out of camp out of him, so I'm hoping he does finally come to the forefront. I got Juju Smith-Schuster as another wide receiver. My first QB I took in round, was that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, round 9. I took my first QB. I think I was the last person to take his QB, was Ryan Tannehill, who I've got in the top 10, so I was happy with that. Then I got another potential top wide receiver on his team, which is Hollywood Brown, who hopefully with the other wide receivers will maybe be open a little bit more. Then I went to my, where did I go here? I went tight end. I went Jared Cook. I don't have him in any of my other leagues, but I just thought I'd take a chance on a tight end there. The Chargers usually use the tight end role. I'm hoping Jared Cook finds a role there and could get me some good red zone looks. Then I took Tua as my backup QB, Justin Tucker, the Washington football team, and I finished with Anthony Frisker from the Tennessee Titans as my backup tight end, who I think could be pretty good too, if as long as Julio doesn't snipe all of his catches there. So, I mean, I think it's an okay team. I think I can compete. I think I have work to do still ahead of me. I'm not sold it's a championship team, but what do you think of my team?
I mean, I don't hate it. I don't necessarily love it.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat.
you're banking on the fact that Sanders and Jacobs can produce like they did in the past. I'm not big on Jacobs coming into the year, so I probably would have taken the 2 guys that were picked after him instead of Jacobs in Darrell Henderson or Myles Gaskin. But to each their own. Jacobs could end up proving me wrong and end up being one of those top end running backs that we know he can be. But overall, you do got some work to do. You started off well with Eckler Diggs. I did have you go in double running back. I think that you probably would have rather have went double running back over Diggs in that second pick. Am I right there? Just based on seeing you get Sanders and Jacobs.
Going back now and seeing what was picked later, I mean, I probably should have went maybe Harris or Gibson instead of Diggs, and then on the way back taking that with a wide receiver. Because looking at what was there, there's Julio Jones, there's Amari Cooper, there's Mike Evans, there's Robert Woods. I mean, I could have still got a pretty good wide receiver there, and I would have had really two good running backs. So yes, I think I should have went with my original strategy, even though I tried to change it up a little bit and let Diggs go to the next guy.
Yeah, I think I would have liked the outlook of your team with Eckler and, like you said, Harris or Gibson or one of these other top end guys, and then maybe Sanders or Jacobs paired on your 3-4 turn, paired with a top end wide receiver, because there are still top end wide receivers left on the board at that 3-4 turn for you. So I mean, other than that, I mean, you got Tannehill ranked pretty high, so you got a guy that you believe is going to be a top 10 quarterback when all is said and done. You got Juju, who finished as the top wide receiver in Pittsburgh last year, and you got him as the third wide receiver from Pittsburgh that was picked. Jared Cook, decent pick. Donald Parham has been a popular waiver target this coming for dynasty leagues. But all in all, I think you got a middle of the pack team if we're just basing it off the draft. I went with the zero running back strategy. I picked my first running back in the 6th round. My first running back was Zach Moss, a guy that I said it during the mock, led the team in red zone touches. I don't think that he's going to end up as the guy who's not going to lead the team in red zone touches this year. So the opportunities will be there for him. He's a perfect candidate to be that zero RB target. But I ended up with Zach Moss, David Johnson, Gus Edwards, and Tony Pollard as my 4 RBs for their strategy. So, and JD McKissick. So a
Can
lot of
you
guys that can be pass catching guys. So a half point PPR, they're gonna have value week in and week out. But I'm waiting for situations. If some situations change, like Zeke goes down or some of these other top end guys go down, these guys plus the top end wide receivers that I have in Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, and Deontay Johnson, matched with Kyler Murray, is what I think would ultimately push me over the edge over some of these other teams.
For the listeners at home that can't see the draft board, could you tell them your draft spot and what you drafted actually in order?
Yeah, I picked the 9th spot. I tried to pick a spot that I didn't favor too much. I wanted to see how I did in the middle to the back end of the draft. My favorite spot is usually the 112 or the 3rd spot, the 12th spot. But my first pick, I went with Devontae Adams. I followed it up with Calvin Ridley. In the 3rd round, I picked CeeDee Lamb.
Love that guy.
I picked my first quarterback in the 4th round. Lots of upside in Kyler Murray. I followed that up with Deontay Johnson, then Zach Moss, my first running back in the 6th. After that, I picked my first bench guy, but a guy that I think is going to be explosive this year in that Denver Broncos offense, and Jerry Jeudy. Followed by Jeudy, my second running back, in David Johnson. Then I picked Irv Smith Jr. out of the Minnesota Vikings as my starting tight end. I picked Gus Edwards, who's put out steady production for the 3 years that he's been in the league. He's got a decent floor. He's had 700 yards every year. He's got his most touchdowns last season with 6. Followed by Gus Edwards, I picked Tony Pollard. After Tony Pollard, I picked the wide receiver 1 out of New Orleans with Michael Thomas down in Traquan Smith. After Traquan, I picked a guy who had a great season for a pass-catching running back last year, 110 targets, J.D. McKissick. I picked the defense that I picked is a defense that I think is going to be one of those higher-scoring defenses. They're in a division that I don't believe is going to be doing a whole lot of scoring. So I went with the Browns. After that, I punted the kicker position only because I felt I was going to get a mid to back end kicker. I can always pick a kicker up before week one. I would evaluate the situations of a lot of these guys on my teams, especially these back end running backs. And I picked my second QB in Zach Wilson. So, James, the same question that you posed to me, how do you feel about my team entering the fantasy football season?
Well, I mean, for starters, your running backs scare me.
Yeah. Well,
Me
thank you. They
being
should scare you. Shake
no,
me in
not
your
in that
boots.
way. No, sorry, your running back production scares me that I don't think you'll have enough. But and I don't know if I could do it. But then I also look at it, and I mean, I really like the Adams, Ridley, Lamb combo you have. Even Jerry Judy and Deontay. Like you got five guys you could basically just put in, sit back, and just watch what happens. I mean,
I mean,
is
Kyler Murray's my RB1. Let's face
no, I
it.
get that, but he's still the QB slot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you have to. This is where you start factoring in, like I went at it where I could start four running backs, but then I'd have to look: are my four running backs better than, your two? Sorry, let's say my four running backs and two wide receivers better than your four wide receivers, two running backs, and like looking at it, I don't know if my four running backs are better than your thing, and especially if these guys are set to do what they're supposed to do. I mean, I'm liking what you did there, and normally I don't like zero RB. You know me, I'm a RB guy, but
Yeah.
especially looking at my team and the unknowns with Sanders and Jacobs, I honestly would rather have had those wide receivers with the upside that I'm hearing from those guys right now than what I did. And I mean, I'm seeing that now on the draft board later, and I never thought I'd say that, but I could see the benefit to possibly doing that. And I think your starters are really good. Again, if Zach Moss and or David Johnson can be a 10 point a week running back, which they should be, I think you're set really well to do very well in this league. I mean, your Irv Smith looks like he should be good as well. And I mean, injuries are obviously going to be the factor, right? Anyone who has injuries is obviously going to go down. But I mean, if you have no injuries and we're talking zero injuries, just what you have there, I like your starters. I think you're a contender. I'd probably put you in the top four.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, no, I like it. And you did
Again,
it in the
it's
ninth
a,
hole. So
yeah, it's a strategy where you gotta be aggressive, man. You gotta be aggressive on the wires, the
I know
waiver
how you
wire.
play too. So what the guys you have here, maybe the wide receivers will be the same, but those running backs
None
and
of
tight
these running
end,
backs
I'm
are gonna
pretty
be the
sure they're
same,
going to
man.
be different by the end of the season. So but again,
Exactly.
you have the leverage with those wide receivers that you can now take one of those guys and try to upgrade for a running back, maybe a mid range guy to use that to your
Yeah.
advantage. I mean,
Yeah.
so I like it. I think you're good. But we did have some other people that drafted with us, like we said, and we're going to go through some of their teams, see how they are, and then Chris and I are going to kind of give our top three rankings. So, Chris, why don't we start with the 1.01 buddy of mine, Greg, and Greg, he drafted Christian McCaffrey. Then he went Patrick Mahomes. We'll get back to that in a sec. Then he went Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mike Evans, Robert Woods, James Robinson, Chase Claypool, Jarvis Landry, Mike Gesicki, Devontae Parker, and if we can get that scrolled down there,
Looks like Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams, Deshaun Watson, which is another one
Evan
we'll talk
Ingram.
about, Evan Ingram, Mason
Mason
Crosby, and
Crosby. Yeah.
Miami defense. So
Who just signed Xavier Howard back, so
they
not bad
did, they
pick there.
did. So let's start where I wanted to start. Patrick Mahomes at the 2.12. Too early or not? What do you think?
I think it's too early.
The
It's
next
it's a
QB was
4
the next QB was you. You took
in
Kyler
round
Murray
4.
in
Yeah,
round four,
yeah.
so it was two rounds later. So
I think if you're gonna pick a QB, Patrick Mahomes is like he's gonna be the one guy that you take early. But I think the rest of his team suffered by picking the QB that early. I probably would have went running back, wide receiver at that 2-3 turn, or running back, tight end, or wide receiver, tight end. I don't value the philosophy of picking a quarterback that early. For me, in a 4-point touchdown league, I'd rather have the QB with the rushing upside. So if you're looking at a guy like Lamar Jackson, who was picked in the 5th round by producer Phil, I mean, he could have more upside in this league format based on Patrick Mahomes. So now you look at his team and he's got Evans, Woods, James Robinson, Claypool, Landry. I think he would have been more well-rounded if he would have picked a guy maybe like A.J. Brown there at the 2. And then at the 3, he could have kept Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe J.K. Dobbins or Jefferson or Waller or Kittle, one of these top-end producing tight ends. So I'm not a believer in the philosophy of drafting a QB this early. I was also not a believer in the philosophy of zero running back. But now that I've actually did it and I see how my teams come out, and it's not too bad. I mean, it could work out for him in the long run, but I think ultimately his team might suffer a bit with the high-end production in his other positions of need there.
So there was 2 tips that Chris just gave you. So one, always check the stats of what each player is given before you draft. Having a QB stat where it's only 4 points for a touchdown rather than 6 is a big difference. And then obviously the rushing and whatnot would change some of the QB values in your head. And then secondly, that you were talking about was the, oh my gosh, there was another one I had. I'll get back to that one. Yeah, I had 2 in there.
Point.
It was good, but his running back strategy. That's right. So 0 RB. He said he's never liked it, never done it, but because he did a mock draft, he's kind of changing his mind a little bit. So do mock drafts. They are good, they are fun, and most every outlet that holds fantasy will have a mock draft option for you. So those are the 2 tips you should be running if you haven't already. Going back to Greg's team, though. What do you think? Do you think he's a contender? Not? What do you?
I got him middle of the pack with McCaffrey, Mahomes, and the wide receivers that he's got. I don't think he'll be a back end team, but I don't see him as a top 3 team. Where do you got him?
Yeah, I think he lost some value there in the Mahomes pick at 2. I think he could have dropped that a little bit and got something better, a wide receiver, and or even he could have stacked 3 good running backs. I mean, look who went after Mahomes. You got Swift, you got Mixon, you got Montgomery.
Nope, those guys
Sorry,
before
wrong round.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got Dobbins, you got Carson, Sanders. Like, I mean, I Clyde Edwards-Helaire Dobbins stack would have been nice. Even Chris Carson, Jefferson was there. There's a bunch of different things that he could have done to go that route. So I think you're right. I think he's a middle of the pack team. I don't think he'll. I think he's got some work to do as well, and we'll see what happens. I also don't know. He might have to. James Robinson, we don't know what he's going to be. Is he the lead guy? Is he going to still be the lead guy? Is he still going to get enough points to be his 3rd flex spot? Or should it go to the wide receivers and then it would be Jarvis Landry? Is Parker going to be the lead guy still in Miami? Or is it going to go to Jalen Waddle? We don't know about that either. And is Parker going to be healthy enough to finish the season? I mean, a lot of question marks there. So it could be interesting to see
get
how
him
that
on a
goes.
contract year and he's top 10 guy.
Yeah, that's all right. Let's move to the second team. Why don't you let us know what producer Phil did? Let's have some fun with this one.
I think producer Phil kind of drafted like he does. You can see a lot of his strategic.
He was pick
picks in
4,
there.
right? 4th
He was
round?
pick 4. His first pick was Dalvin Cook. You can't go wrong with Dalvin Cook. Some people have him as the RB1 coming into the year. Some have him as a top 3 guy. So getting him at the 4th spot, not a bad pick at all. He followed by Joe Mixon. Then he hit on Justin Jefferson. Great pick. Travis Etienne in the 4th was the surprise pick for me. Watching him, you guys can't see him, but we were watching him. You can see he kind of had his head in his hands and he was kind of scratching his head to figure out who he wanted to take there. But it's not a bad pick in a PPR if he ends up being like the reports are coming out of camp, that he's going to be the pass-catching guy. So he followed that up with Lamar, and then he got his guy, his 49er, Raheem Mostert. He picked Boyd, Anderson, Pittman, 3 straight wide receivers. His tight end 1 is Tyler Higbee, who I know James was hoping would make his way back around to him,
Stole
but
that
he
from
did
me.
not. Uh, a guy that he's picked year in and year out since his inception into the league, Miko Hardman. He's got his handcuffed in Alexander Madison, which is a great strategy because guys that do draft zero running back tend to grab those handcuffs to kind of leave it out in the cold. He picked his tight end 2 in Adam Troutman. Then his last 2 picks were the Denver Broncos defense, who have a great beginning of the year schedule. And then he got his San Francisco 49er kicker in Robbie Gould.
Yeah, so there's also some tips here from producer Phil's team that we can go by. There's actually 2 players on this team that he picks always, and he's picked them since they were drafted. The other guy is Joe Mixon, another guy who brings him lots of joy. So the tip here is you don't
Lots
need to
of joy
always
and lots of heartbreak.
Well,
Let's not forget
sorry,
the heartbreak.
brings me the joy when it brings him the heartbreak. That's how I should have put that. So the tip here is that maybe you shouldn't always continue to pick the same guys when they burn you. I'm just a little thing out there.
I've learned my lesson with Evan Ingram, man. I'm not going on that ride anymore.
That's tip 1. And then tip 2 is you guys couldn't hear him, but we could. He was trying to get any 49er he could on his team. And he was just bleeping all on the other end because he couldn't get them because they kept getting snaked beforehand. So don't be a homer all the time, even though you want to. And when in doubt, always take the kicker from your team. So you're okay. In regards to his team, though, let's look at that. I mean, if Joe Mixon is the Joe Mixon we think he is, I like the Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon stack he's got there. His third running back, you're looking between Etienne and Mostert. We know your sight on Mostert is what? He's down by week 2 or 3. And in that case,
I'm not going to make a prediction on when he's going to be down, but I don't think he's going to last the year.
So he's going to be down. Okay, we'll say that. And we don't know what Etienne's in the same boat as Robinson. We have no idea what they're going to do with those running backs on that team. So you're kind of have some question marks there. I love Jefferson. I think Boyd, if he goes back to what he was doing when he was with the Burrow before the injuries, I think that's a great pick too. Robbie Anderson paired with his old buddy now, Sam Darnold. That's awesome to have too. Michael Pittman, look for a breakout. We just don't know what the quarterback's going to be there, but I mean, I think and Lamar Jackson could be a top 5 quarterback again, if for all we know on how he's going. He should be a top 10 at least. So I like him. I think he's got a good team. I got him easily probably mid to top pack of the league right now. What about you?
Yeah, if a lot of things go right for him with like Joe Mixon, Travis Etienne, I think the wide receivers that he has, other than Jefferson, all produce a safe floor. So the production will be there. Lamar Jackson, you can't go wrong. Tyler Higbee, ultimate tight end sleeper for us. So I got him. If all goes well, I could definitely see him fighting for the top 3. I could definitely see him in and out of that top 3. But yeah, man, Dalvin Cook, Lamar, Jefferson, a solid stack right there. Like you said, he's got a good team. I think it just bakes on Travis Etienne and Raheem Mostert, really. But he's got 4 wide receivers that he could play in the flex instead of those guys. So it's a good team. I like it.
All right, let's move on to your brother, who just started doing fantasy last year. And what do we have here? So he went Nick Chubb, David Montgomery, Kyle Pitts, Dak Prescott, DJ Shark, which surprised the heck out of all of us, Michael Carter, Jalen Waddle, Debo Samuel, Joe Burrow. He took his second quarterback before a lot of people were taking their first. Rashad Bateman.
Well, before you took your first.
Gerald Everett. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was the first guy to take a DST. Rondale Moore. Bass, the kicker from Buffalo. And Minnesota Viking. He took 2 defenses. He's, I think, the only guy to take 2 defenses as well. So
cornering the market. I like it.
Yeah. So he's your brother, so I'll give you first crack at him. What do you think?
I know he's a bit of a wild card when it comes to these drafts. I know he likes to take guys that he likes. I know he's big on Chubb. He started off well with the Chubb Montgomery. I probably would have taken someone over Montgomery, maybe a Clyde Edwards-Helaire or J.K. Dobbins. I think he took the tight end too early. I think there's a few teams that took the tight ends too early in a non-premium league. So, but hey, Kyle Pitts could be the wide receiver 2 in Atlanta, so it could ultimately work out for him. He didn't go wrong with the QB. He's got a top 5 QB. His wide receivers is where I think he lacks. DJ Shark, Jalen Waddle, Deebo Samuel, and Rashad Bateman. He could have a bunch of top-end wide receiver 2s, or he could have a bunch of low-end wide receiver 2s, top-end wide receiver 3s. It all depends on the role of these wide receivers in their offenses. So, sorry, Jeff, I have you as a back-end of the pack team. But if all goes right for you, just based on the team that you drafted here, if all goes right for you and these wide receivers do end up playing up to what they could be, and Michael Carter turns out to be the RB1 in New York, he could definitely make a run for it, but he's got some work to do.
So we're saying Jeff is missing the playoffs. That's pretty well what he usually does. That's good.
He's fighting for a spot. He's fighting for a spot.
I just like to knock him down because I'm sure I'll hear about it later. So let's go on to my next favorite, I guess, fantasy person that I've got in a bunch of leagues now, thanks to you, Chris, and all the leagues that we're in. Mike, our Cleveland fan, and Mike is the slowest drafter we had. So let's go through his team here. He had Derrick Henry, DK Metcalf, Darren Waller, Justin Herbert, DJ Moore, Damian Harris, Ronald Jones, Laviska Shenault, Darnell Mooney, Robert Tonyan, Baker Mayfield. What's his name there? Is it Russell Gage? That's it. Harrison Buckner. The 49ers D, and Tevin Coleman was his last one. So going through his team, like Mike's usually a well-rounded team when he drafts from what we've seen. Like Chris said in our last one, we really haven't seen Mike through a full season yet to see what else he does. He's very active on the trade market, but looking at what he has here, he, I guess, tried to go as well-rounded as he could. I mean, Derrick Henry's a great running back. The problem is the running backs after Derrick Henry, I'm not too thrilled with. Damian Harris and Rojo are basically in splits that we know of. And I mean, any New England running back, you really have no idea. They're saying he could be the lead guy, but we also don't know what that means. I like Metcalf and DJ Moore. Laviska Shenault should be a great weapon as well, but then his wide receiver depth kind of dies a little bit there. His tight ends, he's got Darren Waller. He basically can set him and forget him, so he doesn't have to worry about that. And Justin Herbert is projecting to be, they're saying could be a top 5 quarterback this year with the fact that they have an improved offensive line and the way he's been throwing. So I got him. The running backs are going to hurt. He's going to probably have to start more wide receivers in his flex than his running backs, and he's got to hope that the running back 2, he finds a good one. But if he does, I mean, he could be, I think he's still in the middle of the pack right now from what I'm seeing. You?
Yeah, I got him as a middle of the pack team. I think where he went wrong is the Waller pick in the 3rd, because he went running back, wide receiver. I think he would have been better suited to go with another running back or stud wide receiver in that spot, only because he followed up Waller with Justin Herbert. Not that I hate those picks. I'm all about owning those guys this season, but based on his first 2 picks, I think he should have changed it up in the 3rd and the 4th and went with either 2 wide receivers and a running back or 3 running backs, and then picked a tight end and quarterback a bit later. His team may end up being a little bit more balanced, but if you really break it down, there's a bunch of imbalances that I see, like you said, with the running back and Damian Harris and Ronald Jones. So I got him as a middle of the pack team. I know I got like Jeff does with you, sending you messages about what you got to say, but I got to get some messages about it. But hey, man, that's what I think it is at the end of the day. He's going to have some work to do.
Yep, sounds good. Let's move on to Andrew, another guy who's in one of our leagues with us and been with us for a few seasons now. Why don't you give us his team, Chris?
Andrew picked in the 1-8 position in the 8th spot. He started it off with Ezekiel Elliott. Then he followed that with Najee Harris, Terry McLaurin, his QB1 is Josh Allen, Cooper Kupp, Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, Trey Sermon, Antonio Brown, AJ Dillon, Henry Ruggs. After Henry Ruggs, he picked Trey Lance, which Phil did not like at all. His starting defense is the Rams, which is a great pick for a starting defense. Then he followed that up with Jason Sanders, and I picked his tight end too in Austin Hooper. I personally like this team. I think Andrew did a real good job. He picked his running back, followed by another running back. Then in the third, he followed that up with a stud wide receiver. He picked a top end quarterback in the fourth, and then picked two guys that I think are going to have great years. I know you're high on Cooper Kupp, and Cortland Sutton has been balling out in camp. So I think that's going to be a great value pick for him based on the wide receivers that were picked before Cortland Sutton. You can't go wrong with Noah Fant. So based on what he's got, the upside in Antonio Brown, and Trey Sermon can ultimately end up being a league winner if and when Raheem Mostert goes down. So he's got a team that I believe will finish in the top three just based on this draft right here.
I agree. I said at the beginning that I wish I took Najee Harris as my number two rather than Stephon Diggs, and that would have made me a little bit stronger. He got him. I love those two running backs, and then he's got some good wide receivers there, and Scary Terry, Cooper Kupp, and Sutton. And then you pair that with Josh Allen, like you said. I mean, I like it. He's definitely going to be a top three contender and someone that is going to be hard to work with. And he's got some depth too when you go down his roster too, his wide receivers and whatnot. So
yep, he's got one of the top defenses and he's got one of the top kickers. So
yeah, no,
he's
he did really
definitely
well.
going to compete. Definitely a guy that I would watch out for in this league.
All right, and our last option is the option pod itself. Let's see what the option pod picked. So we're going here. So it went Tyreek Hill in the first round. Then it went Travis Kelce, Chris Carson, Miles Gaskin, Jamar Chase, Adam Thielen, Aaron Rodgers, Leonard Fournette, Brendan Cooks, Elijah Moore, Latavius Murray, T.Y. Hilton, Kenneth Gainwell, Koo, and Colts defense. Young Wei Koo. Young Wei Koo. I had to think about what it was again before I went. This was an interesting one too. A little different here with Kelce going in round 2. Is that too high for Kelce? Do you think that's round?
That's right about where he's going, man. I mean, the numbers that he can put up, it'd be hard not to take him in that second round and letting him fall to someone else. Just like you said, Waller's a set it and forget it guy. I mean, yeah. Kelce's the epitome of that. So having the KC stack of Hill and Kelce, I think he's only going to benefit from that. I mean, he's got the KC offense in on his lineup.
And I don't mind his Carson and Gaskin running backs either. I mean, those guys should be the lead guys eating a chunk of carries from those teams, depending. I've been hearing some different things out of the Gaskin situation because they're saying with the new coaching staff, new kind of play schemes that they're putting in there that they want Tua to throw the ball more. So Gaskin may not be exactly what he was last year, but he was pretty good. So, I mean, I got him as a guy that could help you win by end of season as well. So I like that. Jamar Chase, again, Joe Burrow, that's his buddy. They played through college together. We're assuming Jamar Chase should be a really good wide receiver. It's hard for rookie wide receivers in year one, but if he could be the guy that he's there. But he took, Adam Thielen right after, who should be a regular mainstay in mini that's getting the ball. He
touchdown machine.
He had 14 last year. I don't think he'll have that this year, but yeah, I love Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to eat everything up this year just because he's pissed off and he's going to go out with a bang. Doesn't the backup running backs are where he kind of lacks a little bit. Brendan Cooks gets 1,000 yards with any quarterback on any team, so I'm not really too worried about him as long as he stays healthy. He just seems to find a way to do that every year. Elijah Moore, they're saying, could be the next AB. So yeah, he's got some good pieces there. I think his downfall is his depth a little bit for the running back situation. I don't know what Gainwell is yet on that team. No one knows what the Philadelphia running scheme is going to be really, and whatnot. But I think I'd put them in the middle of the pack right now. I don't have them ahead of the other teams we've gone through. I think it's still also middle of the pack. I don't think it'll be higher than that. Needs some work to be done. But what do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I feel the same way. The Carson Gaskin pick, good picks based on the running backs that were left. Hill, Kelsey, another, like I said, good stack. You're hoping with something out of Jamar Chase. I know the news out of camp hasn't been great with Joe Burrow, that he's still trying to find the confidence with his knee. So I think beginning of the year, he might squander a bit and he might end up as a bench guy until about half of the season, back end of the season. Adam Thielen is a very intriguing pick to me. I know the Justin Jefferson injury is not huge, but anytime a wide receiver gets hurt with any kind of shoulder injury, it's not good long term. So Thielen could be a guy that in that offense most people might forget because the hype has been Jefferson and Irv and Dalvin. So the fact that he is that red zone threat for the Vikings, I mean, I think he's picked a lot. There's a lot of guys that were picked with safe floors, so they should have a steady scoring team week in and week out. But yeah, I got him. I got him middle of the pack again, man.
All right. So before we go, Chris, give me your top three teams for the people that drafted, not the computer teams, of course.
I'm gonna go number one. I got Andrew's team with Allen, McLaurin, Elliott, and Harris. Number two, it's hard to keep my team out of it, so I'm gonna go number two, my team, and then number three, I'm gonna go producer Phil.
All right, I'm going to agree with you actually on all three of them and in the same order. Just looking at what's there, I can't disagree with it. So definitely, I think Andrew won this draft. We all know you don't win the league in a draft, but if we have to do a winner for the draft, I think it is Andrew. And Chris, you've changed my mind, I think, a little bit on drafting the zero RB strategy a little bit. Just I might incorporate a semi sort of
Light,
hybrid idea here.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to look at things now, but that changed my thinking a little bit. And producer Phil put out a good team like he normally does as well with the way he drafted his wide receivers late that are still there. So those are my top three as well. And yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. That's our mock draft review for this week. We definitely are going to try to get some lives out to see if we can get some more people incorporated. If you want to be one of those guys, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll try to get you into our next one. Chris, you got anything you want to say to the guys before we go?
Season's upon us. September 9th, the fantasy football season starts. Again, don't forget to subscribe, like our stuff. We've been putting in a lot of hard work for you guys to get you ready for the upcoming season. Don't forget to go back and check out our past episodes. Check out our socials. Check out our Instagram, our Twitter feed, our TikToks. We're always pushing stuff out to help you guys succeed in your fantasy football season. So go check that stuff out.
That's right. And if you have any questions, anything at all, let us know. We have DMs in all those different chats. We'll be happy to answer any questions or anything for you guys. So thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good night.
Toodles.
Do you agree with us? Disagree with us? Let us know with a comment below or even reach out to us and DM us.